Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Anime Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Matt, alongside with my other host, Lance. As always, we like to start off with an adult beverage of choice, and we're going to make it easy on everyone. But because Lance has a personal connection with this one, I'm going to let you talk about this one, Lance.
Yes, so today we're going to be drinking some semi-locally distilled Timekeeper's Distillery bourbon whiskey. This one is a little bit close to home because my father-in-law helps with this company, and they just recently opened up another branch, a tasting room right here in Green Bay, and my wife now works there for a little bit of side cash. So that's super nice, but not because I'm so biased. Timekeeper's bourbon whiskey is a fantastic brand of whiskey. I'm told that they are the only distillery in Wisconsin that continues to use the mash that they have in their whiskey from every batch from their previous batch, so that everything can taste the same. So that's not a common thing that happens, so I'm told. So that's really good for them. But I think the biggest thing to take away is that this is always a fantastic whiskey, and this whiskey specifically inspired me and my wife to have our wedding whiskey, which is kind of the same, not as close, but it's good enough. So yeah, I love this stuff, and I can drink this all the goddamn time.
Yeah, and I feel like you do. But for anybody that's interested, the technical term is a sour mash whiskey.
Yep.
So for anybody that is curious, it's kind of what Jack Daniel's does.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All the big names, Jack Daniel's, Jim Beam, they all have their own secret stashes of mash that they have just to maintain their flavor profile. So
yep,
that's why every single bottle tastes the same.
Yep, exactly. So for any sort of context as far as that one is concerned, absolutely. It is very good. It's delicious. I have been to said tasting bar / location. It was very good. I will definitely have to go again. And to top it off, we also have our other Wisconsin staple, which is a spotted cow, which is also delicious.
Mm-hmm. One day we need to take a tour of that place.
Absolutely. Maybe it's next time.
It's been a couple of years with us just drinking their product, throwing it out there into the world, and we've yet to even go there.
Yeah, we absolutely need to go there sometime. You do have to be in Wisconsin to have it, so take that as what it is. But to get into what we are covering today, Lance, you want to give us that synopsis?
Yeah, so today we are going to be covering Season 2 of Tsukimichi. It's going to be 25 episodes, which is slightly different from your traditional full-length season. But we're all here because we know what happens in Tsukimichi Season 1, so I'm just going to give you a broad idea on what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to start with the introduction of the other two heroes, Hibiki and Tomoki. Makuto becomes a teacher. A couple more races join the lands. There's a tournament at the school, and Makuto ends with him beginning to separate himself from pure human relations to broaden his Kuzunoha trading company. So just to keep things a little bit in scope, we're just going to leave it nice and easy at that.
Yeah, that's very, very, very vague. That's true.
Yeah, when we talk about Season 2 stuff, kind of the synopsis kind of needs to come down to a pinpoint kind of thing, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. You have an understanding of what will happen, and if you don't, just listen to us talk about it, and you'll definitely have a clear understanding of what's happening in Tsukimichi Season 2. And before we get into Season 2, what do you have for Lance's lessons today?
Today's Lance's lessons will be the Japanese word for language, and that is Gengo. Gengo is spelled Gengo, and Gengo is very relevant to today because we've clearly learned that there's many different languages out there, and Makuto can't speak Common, but of course we find out at the very end that he finally gets the opportunity to understand it, which is awesome because it was very fucking frustrating the entire time, but whatever. That's what made this show unique. We can talk about that a little bit, but I kind of just said everything there is about it. But regardless, Gengo, language, we all use it every single day, obviously. So, but yeah, that's going to be relevant to today's episode.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, it's something I didn't mind reading him trying to talk, but I do understand what you're getting at. It can be annoying, especially when you're like, I don't want to have to pay attention to every second of this show.
Now, when you say reading, are you saying that because of manga or because you were trying to see what the anime was trying to say?
Yeah, when something pops up, I'm going to look at it. So I'm going to attempt to read it.
Okay. I mean, for as far as the anime shows, it was all essentially gibberish to
Oh,
English.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
yeah,
I was very happy about that because there's plenty of anime out there that's been like, I can't speak, but I will give you some subtitles to follow along what's going on. And sometimes, honestly, most of the time when I'm rewatching stuff, I'm just listening to it to refresh myself. And if I can't physically see what's going on, it kind of freaking sucks that I can't understand the full scope of everything. So I really appreciated the narration that Makuto was giving every time he was throwing up his own subtitles.
Yes. Yeah, for the manga, obviously, it needed to be read. So I guess that's probably really what I was getting at, just off the tip of my tongue, because that is what I just got finished doing.
Right. And speaking of manga, Matt reads the manga for every episode that we're going to be covering. So was there any differences between today's anime and manga?
NANI?!
Yes, absolutely. There was quite a few. A couple little start of notes. If you want to read what season 2 would be, you're going to start on chapter 30. I am current with what is out, which is 102 chapters, and that is not caught up to what season 2 would be. I will say this isn't the first time I've had this happen. If you remember from basically season 1 and season 2 of Shield Hero, same concept.
Mm-hmm.
Not super uncommon, but it is stuff that happens.
Right, and that's because this is originally a light novel.
Correct.
So this is being translated into multiple sources. So because we are a manga anime, sometimes Matt reads the light novels, and he does read quite a few of them. But for this episode, we're sticking with just the manga.
Yeah, because I did season 1 of the manga. I figured I'd do season 2 of the manga because I actually really enjoyed it. Man, was it very long. It took me, I think it took me like 3 weeks to get through 72 chapters because for anybody who has watched the show, it can be very wordy. The manga is very wordy as well. It is a lot, like all of the conversations. And then there's extra tidbits that I will get into when I talk about the differences. So much conversation, so much detail. There's just an insane amount of information.
All right, well, let's get started with this long list of stuff.
Yes, for anybody who has yet to listen to any of our episodes, I like to start chronologically from the beginning of the season and work my way through. So we are going to start at the beginning of season 2. And this is Shiki talks about the quest from the guild, about the bandits and the werewolves turned into the quest. Basically, Shiki just is talking about this quest that, if you remember, when Makuto comes, he has the werewolf and the noble person from that village. And Makoto's like, well, I like that song, so I'm just going to kill I'm going to one-shot injure all of the bandits.
Yeah, because he wanted to defend the honor of the title of the song.
Yes.
Or band song.
Both.
Yeah. So he wanted to keep honor in it and get rid of these bandits because of it.
Yes. So the werewolves actually turn in all of those bandits and get the reward for the quest. And Shiki's the one that tells Makuto about it.
Okay.
Tomoki has demons he's convinced to be on his side. So when I say convinced, I mean he uses his powers to kind of persuade them. And if we remember, Tomoki is the one that has the eye that can essentially seduce and or brainwash people.
The hero, yeah.
Yep. And so he has demons that this happens before the fight. He has demons that are on his side that are essentially trying to persuade the demons from just standing down and fighting. So he attempts to use his ability. And what happens instead is that the demons figure out what's going on and end up killing the demons that are getting brainwashed.
Okay.
And then something that you find out about is the more you try to resist, the brainwashing, the stronger it gets until you lose your mind. You essentially go crazy if you don't have essentially enough fortitude to just completely nullify the brainwashing.
Interesting. Okay, so that makes it even more OP.
Yep.
Which might explain a little bit on why it worked on Sophia Bolga. Just telling herself that she's not brainwashed so that she gets more brainwashed.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, interesting.
So one thing that I really questioned was why the two heroes weren't fighting together at the same time when they were at the fortress. Well, apparently this fortress splits and then meets up right in front of the fortress. So that's why. So basically one took one path, one took the other path, and then had to fight the demons to get in front of the fortress.
Okay.
So that was what was going on there. You see Mio, Tomoe, and Shiki searching for Makuto after the goddess teleported him away. Everyone was fearful and scared about where he went to. Basically, they just go into a lot more depth about how they're searching for him. Not exactly necessary, but just there's a lot more effort involved.
Yeah, a lot of time skipping goes on in season 2 that we can see.
Yes, absolutely.
Which there's one scene I'm hoping that you can elaborate on, but if not, I will bring it back up in the future.
Bring it up because I might.
Oh, it's going to be more towards the end.
Okay.
The Mio fight with the left dragon, where we kind of just, in the anime, we start the battle, we skip all of the middle, and we jump ahead to the end with the Weston bullets kind of comments. And
all right, yeah, we'll get to there.
Okay, great.
Hibiki has done a lot during her short period of time. Basically, she's doing a lot of training up to this point, and they talk about how the heroes have only been in the world for a short period of time, and she has grown a reputation in this short period of time as being essentially a worthy hero. Unlike Tomoki, who, he's talked out upon. During Makoto's fight with Sophia, he used his abilities to know exactly what was going on around him, so he knew about the humans and he knew about the two heroes fighting at Fort Stella. So he knew everything that was going on at that point in time.
Okay.
Which they kind of make it like it's kind of... They definitely focus more on the fight with Sophia and Mitsurugi when he gets teleported. I will say some of the chronological things happen in a different order. So I'm kind of talking about it as it happens in the manga per se. Makoto's red coat is more resistant against cutting or slash attacks. So that's why he wears that when he's doing more hand-to-hand combat stuff.
Interesting. Okay, because as far as us anime watchers, I was under the assumption that it was purely just for a speed advantage.
Yep. And then Makuto was speaking Japanese to himself, and Mitsurugi understood him.
Makes sense.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
So he was talking Japanese out loud, and then he
was talking to himself, and Mitsurugi is like, "You know this language?" And he's like, "You know this language? How do you know this language?"
Okay, what do they call it? Sage?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I wonder if this will be a season 3 kind of content where they can realize they're all... I mean, obviously, because Makoto knows that Hibiki is a student.
Yep.
And...
Well, he knows that was a student at his school.
Right. But Tomoki, he changed his appearance. So it's could be a little understanding that it's not going to be as recognizable, but we got to come to the assumption that all heroes came from another world, and it's kind of the understanding that they're all, quote unquote, these sages.
Yes.
So it's not too far-fetched.
Absolutely. One thing you learn is that Sophia has a one-time use ultimate defense and other defensive items that she used to survive the essentially ultimate attack from Makuto.
From season 1 battle?
No, was that season 1?
Yeah, because they fought at the very end of season 1.
Okay.
And then that's where Makuto lost a couple fingers and whatever, and she was floating in the ocean with Lancer.
I thought that was season 2.
No, that was the very end of season 1.
Okay.
And then the only fight we got with Sophia was...
was the second one.
With the other guy hero. And then he...
Tomoki, yes.
Tomoki. I gotta remember that name. I don't like him, so I don't... he's out of my brain. Tomoki. Anyway, So Sophia has a one and done kind of super defense. So
Correct.
she used that.
She used that. Okay, yep, that happened in the very last episode. And then
Oh, well, I mean, I'm glad you said that because I never would have thought about that.
so this is some of the chronological stuff that happens differently.
Sure.
Is because I'd already talked about the werewolves. That part happens, but then the Sophia fight happens after that. You learn about the backstory from the two heroes way more previously within the manga. So a lot of things are just happening in a slightly different order. But yeah, as you were saying, we didn't know about how she survived. We just thought that she was very strong.
Yeah.
No, she talks about how she used this basically a once use item and she'll never get that again.
Interesting. Okay.
So they talk about how the rings blindfold the goddess. I don't remember if they talk about that specifically in the anime. I might have missed that.
Which rings?
So the rings that the demons use in the battle with
Io. The forearm guy is Io.
Yeah, Io. So he uses that ring blindfolds the goddess. So basically it makes it so the goddess can't see what's going on.
Okay. I guess that makes sense because he has also the power to take away goddess protections.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Something that we never actually get to see is Makuto as a child. So we find out that he was actually sickly. And there was a woman that healed him so he would no longer be sick, but his like stamina and everything wouldn't really be there. And she seemed like she was someone from another world.
Okay. So maybe someone his mom potentially brought along with him?
Maybe somebody that his parents knew. They didn't really go into it. Something that they talk about is essentially how sickly Makuto or his stamina was as a child. Is he would need to run like 10 kilometers a day for, I think it was like 3 months in order for him to be able to like be of normal stature. Basically, he would be an Olympian training to be the stamina of a normal person. Like that's how sickly and frail he is.
That's insanely crazy because just so all of our American listeners know, 10 kilometers is like 6.6 miles.
Yeah, miles a day.
The average person is nowhere fucking near that. And a sickly kid doing this every single day, you're saying? Mm-hmm. That's insane. Which I guess kind of explains why Makuto in this world might be a little bit OP. Just a little bit OP.
Yes. And then they also talk about how he needs to like pull 1,000 pulls on his bow when a normal person would have to do like 100. So basically it's just super compounding.
Yeah, right.
Which is good because then he's essentially got this muscle memory, which helps him be this OP. We find out that he's kind of OP because he puts a lot of effort into everything versus most people in the world that essentially put no effort into anything. Mm-hmm. They're just, all right, well, I was born this way. I guess I'm stronger than you. Good for me.
Right. Kind of like your typical bad guy.
Yeah. For the exam, Shiki waited in line for 6 days to get to the receptionist's desk for the exam.
It took him that long?
Yeah, that's how long the line was.
And there was only like a small handful of applicants that made it through?
No, there was a lot. Well, there were a lot of applicants.
Oh, sorry, I meant people that made it into it. Like there's for everybody to remember, this is the testing with the 3 orbs.
So you go to the receptionist's desk and you're like, hey, I want to take the exam. All right, which exam do you want to take? I want to take this one. And the reason why Shiki picked this one, if you don't remember, is because he didn't want Makuto to have to do a written and or like interview.
Yeah, he said he wanted him to take the hardest one to prove how worthy he was, basically.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Basically, while Shiki did wait in line for 6 days, he would step out of line and use his brainwashing to like walk away for a little bit and then come back and nobody would know. Yeah. Tomoe tells Shiki not to bring Makuto home to have food for a while. So I remember seeing on the internet somebody asking like, why didn't Makuto come back when he was gone for so long?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because Shiki's basically convinced him not to come back.
Okay.
Because Tomoe told him, don't have Makuto come back for a while.
Okay, that's an answer. I'm cool with that answer. I was just gonna assume that he was so busy with being a teacher.
It had a little bit to do with the investigation. It had to do with Mio trying to learn these abilities. There was stuff going on within the plane that Tomoe is just like, have him stay away for a while. Let me get everything under wraps, and then he can come back.
Sure, makes sense. She's basically the manager. So
yeah, you see the letter of recommendation from Rembrandt, and it basically says Makuto is a strong, experienced fighter. He can't talk common. Please accept him. That's pretty much what it says. It talked about how he was in the desert wasteland area, like he's an experienced fighter in the desert wasteland.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty much just said,
so small resume and
experience.
Please.
Can't talk. I'm important. Accept him.
Yeah. Here's my stamp of approval.
Yeah, pretty much. While Makuto was doing his entrance exam, Tomoe is training Lime Latte, so just time period stuff. Mm-hmm. One thing that they don't talk about is the magic orbs that Makuto collects actually has the ability to retain the information about how much power somebody uses and can tell if somebody is using a restricted amount of power. So basically the examiner's like, this isn't even all your power because, everybody struggles for this. And he's like, no, just.
All right. Yeah. So it goes to show that we all saw that every orb that Makuto tried to capture in the beginning, he completely overpowered. Mm-hmm. And he had to dumb down his powers so extremely to the point where he can even try to contain these things.
Yep.
And these orbs are absorbing that information and be like, hey, yeah, he got us, but it's because he had to dumb himself down.
He used like 0.1% of his power to get me. You do get to see all the effort that Mio goes through to learn how to cook, which is really cool. Basically all the process that she goes through, and it is a lot.
Also, a lot of extra information about cooking.
Yes, absolutely. Basically, knife skills, trying a bunch of different ingredients, going through training her how to, because as we know, she doesn't have normal taste buds, so they figure out a way to explain it to her that she understands so that people can eat it.
Yeah, I like that they explored this.
Lime Latte took some of Tomoe's body and blood to heal his shoulder when he was attacked by the hero Hibiki. Mm-hmm. So that it's after that point. So if you remember when he gets speared in the shoulder.
I think so. As soon as you said the blood, I remember the mention of him taking on some of her dragon blood, and that's why he can understand, or that's why
he can use telepathy
and just casually talk to him. So I like that, but as soon as he said that, I had no idea on how or when that even happened. So this is a good time frame.
Yeah, it's when the hero attempts to persuade Tomoe to be under him, and then his little dragon tamer person attempts to also persuade Tomoe.
Yeah.
And she was like, and right before that, or right after that, I don't remember exactly, Tomoki throws a little fit and brings out his lancer thingy and stabs Lime in the shoulder. And Tomoe is like, I never want to see you again. This is essentially your one warning.
Yep. Okay, this is all sounding familiar all over again, because this is when Lime wanted to get stronger.
Yep.
And then, Tomoe took him under her wing and, made him stronger.
And what she actually ends up doing is she cuts off like a chunk of her skin and
just flays herself.
Yeah, she flays herself and puts it over the wound, and that ends up that's how he brings in the blood and ends up healing his shoulder.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, because when they said that she gave him some of his blood, I assumed he just drank it. But
yeah, no.
If she essentially put her quote unquote fish scales over him to heal him, because that's a medical thing that's out there.
Yeah.
Not to get off topic, but that's a way to put some DNA into him.
Yep,
for lack
exactly.
of better words. Yeah.
And then Makuto also explains the differences between the two different katana that she has. So the Wabaki, the short one, and then the longer one that she has.
Oh, yeah. I did not pay attention to names.
Yeah. there's
The one that could not be unsheathed by anyone except her was the only one that's
basic. So he talks about how that's actually more important than a longer one because you can use it in like smaller areas, and then if you ever need to kill yourself, that's actually what you use too. So it's actually more of an important one than your longer katana.
interesting. I mean, I understand close quarter combat, but throwing in suicide, but whatever.
Yeah. Semblance, and again, Makuto goes above and beyond when it comes to everything. Basically, all of the students Makuto was given were cast-offs and had nothing to do with his class. So they didn't. The only reason why they went to his class was because that teacher that he talked to told all these students, hey, go to this class. And he did that because he essentially picked the worst of the students. Like one of the students was literally skipping class. And he's like, hey, you're going to go to this teacher's class, knowing, quote unquote, all of them were going to just not come back.
Interesting.
So,
so he sent rejects to him.
Yep.
And then Makuto made kings out of everyone.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay.
Emma, Makuto, and the Highland Orcs use an ancient chanting technique, and it's called the Lost Art. That's basically why Makuto is kind of OP when it comes to magic. Besides, his mono reserves and everything, but that's why Emma's so good at magic, is essentially they use the essence of what magic is instead of like these long, drawn-out magical phrases that mean nothing.
Okay. I like that. I like that there's a difference between humans borrowing, quote-unquote, for a lesser word, borrowing magic, and then we have orcs, beasts, actually using magic to their full extent.
Well, it's only the Highland Orcs that use magic this way.
Oh, okay.
And then Shiki does, but one thing that Makuto does that's different than everybody else is that he essentially studies like the primitive version of it and tries to figure out how can I make it shorter, how can I make it more efficient, and he's studies all these things to make it better.
Okay, makes sense.
And essentially he is using the original form. Makuto is using the original form of the spell versus everybody else, which is using just pass off of a pass off of a pass off.
Okay.
The demiplane has fruit that has essentially enhancement abilities to it, makes you more physically stronger. And these are the fruits that they're selling, and they want to make sure that there's no side effects against using these fruits. So Makuto actually gives it to his class so that he can study and make sure that there's no side effects.
Oh, so they're not just getting stronger on their own. He's also giving them protein boosts.
Essentially, yeah.
Interesting. I wish they kind of would have said that because his students are all insanely overpowered compared to the rest of the school. And to us anime watchers, there's like, oh, he's just going under the studies of Makuto.
Yep.
But if we would have known that he's enhancing them on his own, like it would have made a little bit more sense. It's
not to any drastic degree. It's like one tier above what would be without it kind of thing. It's not a whole lot, but it's just a little bit. One thing you find out is that Rembrandt actually donates to the orphanage that Lime Latte came from, and he didn't know about it. So now Lime feels even worse about what he did.
Oh, okay.
You learn about a set of twins and a tree that attacks people. These twins were assassins that basically were hired by the Rembrandts. So Rembrandts have their own set of assassins because, as Morris is a retired adventurer, but he's very strong. I will tell you how strong in a little bit. But he had these twins who were also a part of an orphanage be assassins. And one of the sisters is good at it. The other one is not. And the one sister actually is very good at making wooden objects. So she makes all the bowls, all the plates, all of the cutlery for the Kuzunoha trading company. So just maybe some more characters that we'll get to see in season 3. They talk about the structure of the wives. So the reason why all the students want to be the third and beyond wife is because they don't have to have kids with him. That's essentially what it boils down to.
Yeah, they have made a comment in the anime about they have less responsibilities.
Yeah, they have essentially no responsibility.
Yeah.
Basically, they just get an easy life of status and money.
Yep.
Hibiki and crew are learning from the group that we see in season 1, which is, I'm drawing a blank on her name, Toa? Is it Toa? Yes, Toa. So remember the red-haired adventurer?
The princess?
No.
Oh, the pink-haired girl who cut her hair?
Red hair.
With Hibiki?
Yes. So remember season 1? You remember the group that Makuto transported with in the carriage and got the red-eyed ant things?
Mm-hmm.
And Toa is the red-haired adventurer, has the little sister, and you know that group, I think one's an elf, one's a dwarf, like a female dwarf, and then there's a third one. So that group is training with Hibiki and group.
Okay. Yeah,
and
I didn't put those together.
So what they're doing is Toa is essentially the strongest adventurer group in Sige, and so Hibiki is there training with her to get stronger.
Okay.
You remember that scampy armor that she gets?
Hibiki?
Yeah, Hibiki. Yeah.
When she's fighting Io at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you find out when she gets that armor, and she's actually fighting against a colony of super strong ants. When she gets this armor, basically she gets you're now strong enough to use this. Here you go.
Okay, so we get like an origin
Yeah.
part of where she gets his armor. Okay.
Yes.
That's good. I kind of like that because she kind of just shows up to this final fight with a demon lord and is like, yeah, you just look super skimpy and it's just purely for oohs and ahs.
Basically. And she wears it more often because her friend...
the Spirit Wolf?
Not the Spirit Wolf.
She was saying that the Spirit Wolf gave her the power to use it to begin with.
Yes, that is correct. But her friend that sacrifices herself, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, the really strong one
Yes.
in the very beginning. Oh, it's like episode 2 or 3 kind of material.
Navare.
The white hair girl.
White hair girl. Basically,
who used the rose thing.
She gives, quote unquote, words of encouragement saying, if you're going to need to use this in battle, you want to make sure that your comrades aren't basically ogling you while in combat. So you need to get you need them to get used to you wearing it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why she wears it all the time.
Okay.
I was just like, yeah, sure. Okay. I don't remember. I might have missed this part, but the Rembrandt's sisters actually want to marry Makuto. They might.
As far as an anime, that might be a short stretch. I mean, you can see that there's obviously, I don't want to say like an attraction outside of like physical, but there's an attraction outside of like respect.
Yeah, they respect him enough to not see him as this pig, essentially.
Right, exactly. That's the way I kind of took it. As far as trying to marry him, I never would have expected that.
Yeah, they talk about how they want to. So they talk about it in the anime how the sisters basically convince all the other girls to stop. And
they did definitely mention that.
One thing that they say is in this argument that the sisters are having, they're like, you only want to be their third wife too. And they're like, nope, unless you want to be like the first or second wife like we do and you're willing to fight us, leave them alone. And they're all like, you don't actually mean this. And they're like, try me. Mm-hmm. And then they all kind of scurried away.
Okay. So just a little bit more elaboration. I like that.
Yep. Kuzunoha and company work with Rona to investigate the anti-goddess cult. They just go into a lot more depth. Basically, Rona is torturing and murdering these people, a part of this cult group, whatever you want to call them. You see Shiki doing the same thing, not necessarily killing, but just doing other various misdeeds to investigate into this group. They go way more in depth with it. Because Rona gave Makuto the incantation to talk to her, Makuto in turn gives it to Shiki, who studies it, and they figure out a way to use it themselves without the demons knowing about it. So basically they used Rona's gift to Makuto to betray the demons, essentially. Because they are very weary of working with demons.
Okay.
So they can use it, and then all of the basically workers can use it as well. Because the big thing about this is you can do anti-eavesdropping. It has anti-eavesdropping ability so that anybody else who has telepathy can potentially hear what you're talking about to other people.
Okay, I like that they said that because it's kind of sounded like telepathy is common / not common, like maybe higher ups can use it. And there was a moment where Makuto instantly telepathized with Rona and was like, oh, hey, haven't heard from you in a long time. Like he invaded her privacy with his telepathy. Yep. So it made it sound like you can just talk to anybody at any moment. So if there's this version that you can block it out, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, there's a way to block it out. What Rona gives Makuto is the incantation it takes to be able to get on the same wavelengths with her, essentially.
Okay. So like a password.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Shiki, being Shiki, was able to decipher it, make it better, and allow for all of the people who needed it, plus all the workers, to use telepathy that only they could use.
Okay.
Basically, from what it kind of sounds like, the only people who can use telepathy are high-class mages, so essentially demons and all the strong people.
Right.
You don't see any of the... so you only see the last fight between the students and the lizard men. Well, man and woman.
Oh, kind of going back into mid-season 2.
Yep.
When they were training and they're finding out that the lizard man was only using like a 10th of his power, and they're like surprised.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was a mission with this cat demi-human who could speak and talked about a contagious disease affecting other demi-humans. Basically, Makuto helps them, and then he's like, I want to give you a handshake. And then he's like, toe beans, basically, because, cats have toe beans.
Yeah.
And so internally, he's like, it has toe beans. It's so soft. And just being Makuto, essentially.
And that's where the manga left off, too?
No, not quite.
Okay.
Almost.
I was going to say, because the anime shows this random-ass cat humanoid.
Yep.
One scene.
Yep.
And Makuto is familiar as fuck with this character.
Yep. That's why.
A one-and-done scene.
That's why. It's one chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically, hey, this happens. Makoto's like, all right, well, I guess I'll help you. He helps them. They get better. And then he gets to touch Tobians.
That's all the anime was too. It's like, yeah, cats are super cute. Cool.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
Thumbs up emoji. Okay, cool. Okay.
One thing that the manga does is they changed the main dragon's name. Do you want to remind us who the main dragon is?
The main dragon, to what us anime watchers know, is Luto.
Luto, yes. In the manga, and if you look it up online, it is Root. No idea why. Couldn't tell you anything. All I know is that I know him as Root because, like I said, that's what I just was reading. One thing that Luto/Root does is he removes all the restrictions off of Makoto's adventurer card. Because if you remember, the adventurer card has essentially a level restriction that blocks you from gaining certain things until you get to certain levels. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I am so sorry. Hold up. Sorry, everyone, for doing a quick Google search. I'm not finding a direct translation between Luto and Root. I'm seeing something that might come close to morning, like early morning, like the time of day morning. But let's just kind of leave it at that as far as the difference between Luto and Root. But yeah, the manga is going to say Root for that, and all of us know him as Luto as the anime. So sorry.
No,
carry on, Matt.
You are just fine. With the adventurer card, they talk about how there's restrictions until you reach certain points, and then you basically it's a reward system for gaining these levels. Well, Luto, or Root, removes all of these restrictions from Makoto's card as an apology, essentially. Basically, he's trying to curry favor with Makuto.
Okay.
Because he likes him so much, or he has...
allowing for easy level ups?
Which is
an obvious no, because he's still stuck at level 1.
Correct. So instead, Makuto essentially has all the rewards for leveling up without needing to level up.
Okay. I wish that could be explained a little bit further why he can't at least level up.
He doesn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, there has not been an explanation.
Right.
So I can't give one.
Okay. I mean, that's an obvious thing that we could talk about in the future. But as far as we can potentially talk about in the future.
Yes. Luto doesn't even know why. So,
interesting. Okay.
yes, he's like, I have no explanation for this, but here we go. Emma acts the way she does during the interviews with all of the species that are coming in to try and live there, because everyone within the demiplane respects Makuto so much that she wants to make sure that they show the same amount of respect towards him.
Right.
Basically, she wants to make sure that they respect him within what his title deserves.
Right.
Which Makuto is like, fuck, I don't care, as we know. Makuto actually goes to an elementary school to learn about the basics of magic.
In this new world.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. And basically, you learn from this teacher that he is no longer going to be teaching at the school because he hasn't kept enough of his students. So he's going to be starting his own school. We do find out that there's like a bunch of schools, but essentially the school that they're going to is like, this is the prestige school and all other schools below it are inferior.
Sure. I mean,
causes issues.
Kind of like the capitalism of schools.
Yeah, pretty much. Speaking of, on the way to the forest, Makuto's students run into other students from this lower school, and they start a fight. It's essentially one of Makuto's students versus 7 of them.
Sure.
He's like, he wins. He's like, this wasn't even a warm-up. it was bad.
Okay.
Something you find out, Morris is level 300. So Morris is the bodyguard / assistant to Rembrandt. Morris is the old guy.
The old guy. Okay. The
Yes.
one who needs glasses because
Yes.
he fucked up on
The
the difference between becoming a teacher and becoming a student.
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's like, I can't read the finer things.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it.
Oh, and that's as far as the manga brought
That's
you.
where the manga stops.
You didn't even get to the second core where all the action starts.
No school tournament, no second fight with Sophia, no real monomatter. The betrayal of the demons doesn't happen. None of that extra. Basically core 2.
Okay. And just to bring everyone back into perspective, this was a shit ton of information that you read, and you didn't even cover 3/4 of what season 2 has to offer.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So as far as anyone needs to know, just read the light novel.
Basically, I got to like 11, 12 of the season in 72 chapters.
72 chapters covered core 1, essentially, of season 2.
Yeah.
That's an insane amount of information.
Yeah. It's a lot. It was so much. So much.
Okay. Yeah.
And-
So manga readers, fucking wait.
And there was basically no fight scenes.
Right? Season 1 was
Very minimal to no fight scenes. Yes.
very interesting.
Yeah. It's a little behind the scenes. It took me 3 weeks to get to read all this. There was so
just
much.
to read core 1 of season 2, and it's not even done.
Yeah.
For our sake, I guess I'm kind of happy that it did work out this way, because otherwise you'd have been drowning
Oh, yeah.
in content.
I would have been like, hey, sorry about this. I did not read all of the manga. I'll have to do a part 2 to this so that I can get through to it. Yeah, it was so much. And if you remember, part of Core 1 was the backstory of the 2 heroes, which I had already read those things.
Which was part of quote-unquote season 1 material.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so a little bit jumping around.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Fucking crazy.
I will say the manga was fantastic. I really liked it. This was probably one of the better light novel adaptations to a manga. It was very, very, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, shit ton of information that they dropped into this manga, so awesome. If it's one thing that I would love for manga to do, if it's coming from a light novel series, is to take actual information. Make no shortcuts. Listeners, real quick, if you're hearing any kind of weird noise in the background, Matt's dog is sleeping and having a dream, and he's being pretty goddamn cute about it. Like, just slightly barking in his dream. It's so cute. Anyway, I love the idea that we're not deleting content from the original source. So kudos if that's the case, because obviously we're not reading the light novel for this particular series. Yep. So awesome.
And for anybody that is curious, the light novel is still ongoing. Obviously, the manga is still ongoing. I want to say there are 19 volumes to the light novel. Not 100% sure where season 2 runs into the light novels.
Quick Google search.
from what I am seeing, it appears that the light novel is around 9 or 10. I'm not seeing definitive. Give me one. For anybody that is curious, there is a web novel as well. But what I am seeing, episode 11 ends with volume 8, or goes into volume 8, and the last episodes are the next two light novels, so 9 and 10. So they believe it's somewhere, basically read from light novel 10, volume 10 on. And there are 19 volumes out, which have not all been translated, so have fun with that one.
Okay. Well, for everybody to put 2 and 2 together, we're not even halfway through what this series has to offer.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. There is a lot. Before we get into the anime talk and talk about some stuff that we brought up from the manga, let's take a quick break. And now that we're back from our break, let's get into the anime talk. I will say this is one of those shows you need to watch more than once.
100% agree.
As we've mentioned, there is a lot that happens in this show.
25 episodes of information, and it is so goddamn dense.
It is there is so much talking. I don't think I've said that enough. There's so much that happens in the show, and you miss things if you only watch it one time.
Yeah. I will share with everybody. I insanely casually listened to all of season 2 one time before we did all this. I have consumed this anime 3 times.
Okay.
And I do not feel like I have a complete grasp on all of this anime, even after 3 times. But I will try to do my best on trying to carry on this conversation.
Okay. My friend Ryan, who has been on this show before, he said that he wishes he could watch this again for the first time because he absolutely loves this. He talks about this being one of his favorite shows. The first time through, I felt like it was kind of slow. Like it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's so dense. There's a lot that happens. But the second time through, I really got a true appreciation for what this show is.
Yeah, and I agree with that all the way. And that's because it might feel slow because the first half, the first core, was a lot of build-up. And that's because we needed to learn about the previous heroes, and we got to learn about Makuto being a teacher and bringing up these students. And core 2 was like pure action, which was awesome, which brings everyone back into scope.
Which we don't get in the manga.
Sad, super sad.
Yes.
I mean, and maybe in retrospect, it might be better that we at least got the true differences between all the nitpicky small stuff and the slow parts, because how much more can you elaborate? I'm sure there is, but how much more can you elaborate on the pure action?
Maybe for my sanity, it's a good thing.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And then it's one thing, you've listened to this multiple times, so you know what to expect, so you can better appreciate the information you're given, because you're like, oh, okay, yep, that thing that happened on episode 12 we talked about in episode 5, and we get a much better clarity about what's going on. The jumping back and forth between all the different sections makes a lot more sense, because we're like, oh, Mio's just gone. Okay, yep, she's learning to cook, and Hibiki's here. Well, why is Hibiki here? Well, we find out why Hibiki is there, and then you're like, well, what's going on here? And then it's all this information that just makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it kind of needed to be that way because we got introduced to an insane amount of characters in the first core.
Yes.
So it's understandable. So we need to slow things down in order. We always talk about this in all anime. There needs to be highs and lows of everything, and that's just kind of how every anime goes. You just need those. Yeah,
absolutely. Something that, as I made a joke about, we get almost none of Core 2 in the manga. So I'm very curious, like, how some of these details are going to come about. Is Makuto going to fight the demons? because he gets sucked up by the goddess and makes this deal.
Right. Also, let's timestamp this right now because any future listeners, this is January 3rd of 2025. So don't quote us too far as the manga might be because we're only covering as far as up to today's date.
Correct. Also, I guess something that we haven't mentioned yet, season 3 is confirmed. No date is confirmed. So we do have that part as well.
Right.
So we have the deal that Makuto makes for his ability to use the common Gengo, just because I want to pull that in there so I can remember it. Probably won't, but it's here nor there. And we have this deal that he makes, and essentially it was save the hero Hibiki, which is good. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm glad she was saved. And bring
this fort, save this fort.
No.
She's making a term I need you to save the heroes and protect this specific plot of land. It's fort.
So it's not the fort, it's the where she is living, which starts with an L. Lemia.
Okay.
The Lemia kingdom is where they're trying to take over because that's where Hibiki is. Mm-hmm. And Fort Stella is the land that they attempted to take over, as in the heroes attempted to take over, but the Kuzunoha group ended up taking over it instead. And
this is where the blue-haired girls are from, the blue-haired sisters?
Yes, where the two sisters are from. Yes.
Which is going to be, I assume, a huge part of season 3 because this is basically where we're headed to next because it's hey, do you guys want to take over your old land? Because we reclaimed it to a degree.
Yeah, so the land where Fort Stella is around this land where the two sisters used to be.
Also, is this the same land where Makuto's parents are from?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, we need to make these connections because, again, so much goddamn information is going into this. We need to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yes, absolutely. So that's where all of those things get tied into, and then Rona essentially leaves that area and is where the Demon King is, I'm assuming.
If there is the Demon King, I can't wait for an actual all-out battle between Makuto and his... Because we saw in season 1 where he looks like he's a walking Demon King army.
Yes.
I want to see him go all out. We know he's this OP character, so we need to see him being pushed to his limits. I mean, I love the extents that we saw him go through with mana matter ability.
Yes.
Super cool. Love the idea.
Yes.
But you're OP. You don't have any competition. We need to see something happen.
Yes. That'll be very interesting. I feel like the Demon King. So I don't think that's going to happen in season... I guess it could happen in season 3. I don't think it's going to happen in season 3.
I would like to expect this to be kind of like a series finale because the goddess is worried about the demons taking over. So that's kind of the whole purpose of this whole isekai is taking in these heroes to protect the humans from the demons. So this kind of needs to be... I mean, unless we're going to be battling the gods in the finale.
I think the goddess is going to be the final boss.
Oh, I can see that because she's a bitch. And she's got things going on the side. I made a note that I want to talk about later, but...
I think we're on the same page with that one. Okay, yep.
Whatever, we're here. Let's talk about the goddess and what might already be of question.
Okay.
Because in the final couple episodes, when Makuto is being granted his ability to understand common... There's this little fairy little thing that flies in and says that someone has come to see the goddess from the original world.
Yep.
And that's all we fucking know.
Yep.
And that's where they leave us off. So there's someone that has connections to the goddess.
Yep.
There's an original world.
Yep.
Where does the hierarchy fall in these? What? Yeah. I'm kind of flabbergasted. Obviously I'm flabbergasted. But what does this mean? Obviously, this needs to be explained.
So one thing that Luto talks about is there is a 10% chance of going back to his original world, which means there is a 90% chance of going to a different world.
Yep.
What other worlds? Like, is this just a series of just infinite amount of worlds? And then the other thing that he talks about, is he going to be able to transcend worlds? So basically go back and forth.
World hop. Yep, that was another part of one of my notes.
So is that what the ultimate goal for Makuto is eventually going to be? Is that he travels back and forth between the two worlds, where he goes home and he's like, I don't really care for this. I miss my people.
Mm-hmm.
Or does it essentially become a Mistgate where he can jump in, see his parents, see his siblings,
with you
jump
saying
back?
This, I really, really hope that they don't overlook this and make it be that fucking simple. I want this to be something super hardcore where him and Shiki, because we know that Shiki also wants to know this knowledge.
Yep.
I want them to know, or at least go through some super hardcore obstacles in order to... This needs to be an endgame kind of thing. Like,
Yes.
he maybe not super endgame to the point where he can like travel between his world and back to his human world where he can visit his sisters, which is another thing we need to talk about. But maybe this could be 3/4 of the way through, because if he's world hopping, then we're going to travel to another world where there's another even bigger baddie that we need to take care of.
I mean, potentially.
And because we're talking about goddesses, and maybe goddesses are part of other worlds, and
Yep.
now they're all in conflict with each other. Okay, getting way too far into the future, potential fake future.
10 steps to Kevin Bacon kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to happen is Makoto is going to figure out a way to go back to his other world. He's going to figure out that he wants to go back. And eventually it's going to be, he's going to create a Mistgate to be able to, like, that's what it's going to end, is he figures out a Mistgate to go back and be able to see everybody while still being able to see his family.
As some conclusion, I would 100% want that to happen.
Yep.
But I don't want that to be the end of the story, per se. Because
Okay.
like I just talked about all my drama, my previous drama right there.
Yep.
I just want him to have the convenience and the comfort
Yep.
of traveling between worlds, and then more drama. He can bring his earthly world into the drama, and now his sisters are in danger.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an option. That
I'm
is
just throwing so much out there.
It'd be very interesting.
This is starting to sound like SAO to some degree. Everybody's in danger.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's not going to happen, just because
I'm agreeing with you on that. I don't think it's going to happen too, because we're already overpowered, and this story is a little bit more simplistic than what we can make it. It feels like.
I also don't think it's going to be a war of the worlds kind of thing. Kind of like, you don't know this, but essentially what Darwin's game ends up turning into. That's essentially what happens, is that it's a war against all these other worlds. And
you read ahead.
Yeah, yeah. And essentially what's happening is that the creatures that are appearing, this is Darwin's game, the creatures that are appearing in their world come from other worlds and attack. And essentially what has to happen is it's all right, whoever can survive between all these people within this connectivity of these worlds is who gets to win. And I feel like that's not going to happen in this one. I think it's just going to be, this is the main god, and he's going to be like, you fucking suck. You're losing your, like, eternal power where she can't die. Makoto is like, yes, I'm going to kill her at this point. And because he kills her, now he can travel back and forth between the worlds. That's my guess for the ending.
I mean, mine as well.
And then it's the happy-go-lucky ending that he essentially worked for.
Just to jump to the finale, happy-go-lucky ending for me and me wanting Makoto to have, is there him to not be like in a good way a ruler of the world, and everybody's peaceful and prosperous, because he wants. I don't know how else to say it, because he's not a bad guy, and he's only trying to help, and he's getting screwed over by outside forces.
Yes. He basically just wants to live his life and be happy with the people he cares about.
Without the burdens of being an actual quote-unquote hero.
Yes.
So he's a self-proclaimed hero when he needs to be. But
I wouldn't say he's self-proclaimed, because he doesn't act like a hero, and he doesn't want to be a hero. He's just
very
OP.
True. Yeah, very true. I'm only kind of saying this because obviously he's the hero of our story.
Yes.
So So yeah, it's silly to say it otherwise. But when you were saying that, it made me think of his hero suit.
Yes.
In the last couple episodes
that Mio made for him.
That Mio made. Let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
What were your thoughts about this hero suit?
I thought it was funny.
Yeah?
That's all I took it as. It was funny. And it was Mio attempting... I thought it was completely ridiculous and funny.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just Mio attempting to create an anime, which I talked about in season 1, where she's obsessed with anime.
Uh-huh.
It's her attempt to make it real, because for anybody who hasn't listened to our episode 1, definitely do that. Mio is obsessed with anime.
Yep. And
so this is her way of acting out her desires, unlike Tomoe, who is a pseudo-period drama samurai.
Yeah.
Or an endo-period drama samurai.
Yeah. I absolutely loved that they threw in this hero suit.
Yes.
Unlike Dragon Ball Z's Great Saiyaman, they tried to do some fake-ass hero shit. Like this one felt like a real traditional Japanese like hero concept where like I fell in love with this instantly.
It reminded me of like an overpowered Power Rangers kind of thing.
Yes, Power Rangers. That's exactly where I was thinking too. The abilities that he was given was okay. I accepted it. It was comical. It was funny. The comical part came from him not even knowing what he was capable of even doing.
Can I do this? Grappling hook. Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. It's just Mio's voice coming in through robot, and then we're like, what can I do next? And then he's just trial and erroring all of these stupid tactics.
Yep.
Which we all know on the outside, he can easily overpower Io, the four-armed demon lord or whatever. But he was just playing along because he needed to make sure Hibiki, the hero, and everybody in her party was watching that he wasn't like too overpowering. But still,
yes,
like,
exactly.
He was putting on a show, which was awesome, cool.
He also didn't want to kill Io either.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't want to kill anybody, period.
Kind of.
He still... yeah, kind of. There was a moment when he was fighting Io, and he was like... Can't remember the phrase exactly, but he was like, hey, no offense, but I'm gonna have to attack you right now. I'm like, you're clearly enemies right now. Why would you say no offense?
Yeah, because he didn't want to actually fight to the death or fight seriously. It was after he had his mana matter on, and I love the rocket punch.
Yeah, it was just some more like old school traditional kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, he's like, actually, I'll just rocket punch you away, and there you go. All right, now I don't have to fight you.
Another moment about that fight, it was like when Makuto had his mana matter.
Yes,
he like developed his own third arm to like choke hold him. And he was like, I may look like a humanoid, but like you, I don't need to have two arms. I'm like, fucking beautiful. That was perfect.
You have 4 arms. Why can't I have?
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, that's true.
Jesus, this is quite the tongue twister. My mana matter can take on a form of anything I wish it to be. So it could be just perfection to what I need to be in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Because, we saw it as a series of stairs. So
yeah, that too.
Why can't it just be an 800 armed humanoid thing? Sure. Yeah, perfect. That makes sense. So, I laughed way too hard when he rocket punched Io away. I was like, that's a good one.
As far as this mana matter goes, it is insanely OP because our character is OP.
Correct.
So what I like to bring into focus is there needs to be drama. So
which they kind of started with.
We did see a little bit because there was like this poison effect that was going on, and then he was able to be slashed upon.
Yeah.
When he was fighting against Sophia?
Correct.
So we saw that he did have a little bit of a defect there, but at the end we also saw that it is still just too strong. So I want to see in the far future, doesn't necessarily need to be next season, but maybe endgame, his mana matter needs to either evolve to a more perfection state, or prior to that we need some big baddie to be like, yeah, that thing that you have I can do, and I can do better. Like there needs to be...
We saw Bluto being able to use it for a very, very short period of time.
Yeah, I'm glad they went that direction.
So it's
not unique.
Kind of.
It's unique that Makuto could almost perfect it. To our perspective, it looks like he's perfecting it, but it's not to the point where it's unique because, yeah, Ludo can do it too.
Yeah, I'll be very curious if there's other creatures that can use like some sort of void technique that eliminates mana.
Ooh, voiding. So much like how Io can disrupt the goddess's protections.
Yep.
Can there be someone who can disrupt Makoto's energy to any point?
Well, it'd have to be like mana expulsion.
Uh-huh.
And that would be basically somebody would have to be very physically strong, where it's like, all right, this area, there's no mana in this area. Kind of reminds me of Jobless Reincarnation during the fight with the Dragon God.
Mm-hmm.
And he attempts to use magic and it gets basically removed. So kind of something similar where it's like, okay, here's a way to stop magic, because we know that Makuto is OP when it comes to magic and mana, but he is severely lacking when it comes to physical combat.
Yeah. And I like that he made the comment that Io is far superior in combat knowledge and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
At the same time, he was just super casually carrying on a conversations. That was one thing that caught my attention all the time was the narration with Makuto was way too low-key casual.
Yeah, he almost takes nothing seriously.
Right. Like it was almost to a fault, but I mean, I accepted it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
That's one thing. But to bring this to the next level, Rona,
yes,
the demon,
big boob demon.
Big boob demon. She wants to introduce him to the Demon Lord. So we have yet to even know the next big baddie.
Correct.
And this is who the goddess wants to protect the humans from. So obviously we know that there is a higher power out there for us to even look forward to. So I'm really hoping that we can start. Obviously we know this is going to be a happy ending kind of a thing.
I would assume, yes.
most likely. But I'm looking forward to what he could be. Or she. We don't know.
I'm gonna assume it's a guy just because they call it the Demon King.
Oh, but yeah, good point.
The one other thing that I think is going to be very important is the fact that Makoto's deal with the goddess was that she essentially will 100% leave him alone. So she is no longer going to keep tabs, supposedly, on Makuto. So he can essentially do whatever he wants. So when he meets, if he ever meets the Demon King, there are no repercussions to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that he's essentially been attempting to avoid up till now. Is he's trying to avoid the goddess, trying to avoid any sort of recognition causing any stirs, basically trying to avoid bringing her around to what he's up to. So now he has the ability to kind of come and go as he pleases, supposedly. I'm not going to hold my breath that she keeps that end of the bargain, but...
Yeah, she's already broken her promise. Well, to a literal term, she has not broken her promise. But
yes. Yeah, because she just said that she never wanted to see him again, not that they would never see each other again.
Right. So they're very wishy-washy as far as demons can be. They'll keep their promises, but yeah, very wishy-washy to a technical degree.
Yep. I'm very curious if we get to see him. Him as in the Demon King. I do have some sort of feeling that it's going to be on good terms.
In the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah, in the beginning, I think it's going to be. But there's going to be some contract that's going to be broken, which is going to continue why we're not even halfway through this novel series.
Yes. I'm very curious about that one. One thing that really sparked my curiosity was Luto makes mention when he was a woman, he did end up reproducing with one of the previous heroes.
Oh my god, I'm missing out on this part.
Yes, he had an heir, so to say, with the original hero.
Okay. Interesting. And this is, just for everybody to come to focus, this is not to talk about Sophia Bolga, who...
Correct.
Who got some of his blood.
Correct.
And this is not Acer. You're
not talking about Mitsurugi, are you?
No, the white dragon. I think it's Acer.
No.
Who's the sword dragon?
That's Mitsurugi.
Not the hero. That's the hero? No, the Mitsurugi is the sword dragon.
Yeah, you're thinking of Tomoki.
Oh, goddamn. Who's Acer? Acer is the who was quote unquote Acer.
Lancer.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That's what has thrown me off. Yes, Lancer Mitsurugi. Lancer is the human, and then like Mitsurugi is his demon or his dragon name. Yes.
Okay.
Also known as Mitsurugi.
Thank you. So those two were just experiments from Luto. Nothing to do with this original offspring that you're talking about.
Correct. Yes, because the Mitsurugi was a combination of the swords and the dragons, and Sophia was just essentially a human that was given Luto's blood and was able to essentially take it in.
Yeah, she survived and she became super ass powerful.
Correct.
Okay, so this is something to look forward to.
Maybe.
Was this part of the anime? I'm not remembering him saying anything about him having offspring himself.
I thought he said he did, but humans only live to be 1, maybe 200 years.
He was saying with Tomoe that in their world, it is rare for anyone to live to 100 years, and Tomoe is like, oh, that's so sad. I don't know what I would do with myself if...
Yeah. Okay, in the manga, they talk about 1, maybe 200 years with magic.
Okay, yeah, maybe with magic.
And Luto has been a man for 200 plus years. Right. This happened over 1,000 years ago, so the offspring has long passed since. Now, if a branch of the offspring could come back, that would be interesting.
You can imagine, yeah. I mean, we're looking at so many different branches of conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, between Luto's child and the Demon King.
Yeah, that could be something maybe even against Luto.
Are they one and the same?
I'm going to go with no. I would be very curious. Something else that's very interesting is that Luto is the voice of the person who gives the heroes the ability.
Right. And just to bring everyone into perspective, when Hibiki and Tomoki were brought into this void of zero time, they were given the opportunity to have some super OP power. Yes. Tomoki was given the power of Oblivion.
Yes. Which
is designed to destroy, but not destroy himself, whatever.
So he has the goddess's protection, so he can't die at night, okay. Which is why...
That explains why he survived. Thank you.
Yes.
And then Hibiki was given the extra power of friendship.
You pretty much.
Yeah. Pretty much. Everybody's emotions go into her, powers her up.
Yep.
So that's her next level skill. So yeah, Ludo. Geez, Ludo. What's going on with Ludo? If he's able to grant additional powers,
he's able to grant powers. He essentially works in combination with the goddess. So what the fuck?
Yeah, right. He's in maybe not direct communication, but he's in.
I would not be surprised if they probably have some sort of way to communicate. So, because I would assume Luto has probably been there since the beginning.
Sure. I mean, he's considered the #1 dragon right now, so.
Yes. And yeah, he went to this void, which was given to the heroes. He knew about Makuto right away, because he talks about how he knew that another individual had been brought to this world. So I'm so curious about Luto, because he's essentially nothing. We know nothing.
We know nothing, but it sounds like Makuto has more power than Luto.
He has more mana than Luto.
Sure, okay, that's fair. But Luto has this extra deal about him that can at least grant. He has, just to recap, he can grant powers and he can have these connections.
Yes, and then he knows most everything about the world, you could say.
Yeah.
There's probably very, very, very few things that he doesn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while he doesn't have as much mana as Makuto, he can probably use it more efficiently than Makuto.
Right, which piggybacks on to when Makuto's like, hey, I feel like I need to power myself up, and then Luto's like, don't you have enough power? It's like, yeah, I have enough power, but I don't feel like I'm using it efficiently to that exact language.
Yeah, he essentially deemed it as like an ocean worth of energy that goes through a garden hose.
Yep.
So while he eventually will run out, he wants to be able to use more of it at once. That's essentially what it is. Because remember, he does end up passing out when he's trying to learn about the mana matter.
Exactly, because we have seen him pass out twice in this series so far.
Yes.
And that's from him just expelling all of his mana.
Yes.
To the point where he does have to pass out. So what we don't know is how long that duration was.
Essentially all night.
All night.
All night, like max power, all night kind of thing.
Right.
Which does bring in something funny that I think they talk about in the anime that I guess I'll bring up, is Shiki is trying to learn how to use transportation magic. No. And, okay, so Shiki is attempting to learn teleportation magic, not transportation magic, from Tomoe. And he talks about how he will not stop learning until Makuto stops trying to learn how to use mana matter, which that night. So then Shiki ends up running out of mana and passing out like halfway through the night. Earlier than compared to when Makuto finally passed out.
Okay. Yeah, so it could... For all we know, it could be like an experience kind of bonus. Like the more you use it, the more experience you get, and the more you can withhold.
Yes.
So like he's slowly leveling himself up as he practices expelling himself.
And I feel like it's going to be one of those things where because people understood that, hey, there's limits. They're like, all right, well, if this is my limit, this is as far as I can go. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm just thinking of Jobless.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds like Jobless.
And I feel like it's very similar.
You're raised being taught that you have a limit and there's no way to pass it. But obviously, here we are surpassing it every single moment. Yeah,
and nobody's willing to essentially put their life on the line to be able to raise their limit. Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to.
So to change topics.
Okay.
Back to the very beginning of Season 2.
Okay. Let me look at this so I can remember, apparently, because I'm drawing a blank on where Season 2 started. But continue.
Back to where we got introduced into all of these, the two new heroes.
Yep.
Tomoki asked for his appearance to change.
Yep.
And
because he was a little bitch, but yes.
Because he was a little bitch. Which made me question if the goddess can change the appearance of Tomoki.
Yep.
And if Makuto is so goddamn ugly...
Yep.
Why couldn't she just change his appearance?
Because she hated the way he looked. And she liked the way that Tomoki looked.
So, at first appearance?
Yeah. Remember, he was a model in the original world.
Yeah, true.
So...
But, I mean, just go back to the idea of changing appearance.
Yeah.
I think this is just some stupid, quick little thing to look...
It's anime logic.
It is 100% anime logic. It was like... It caught my attention immediately. And I'm like, why?
She also hated the way he sounded, so...
Okay, I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
But maybe she had the power to change how he sounded too. You never know. But anyway, yeah, this is just 100% nitpicky stuff. I was like, why did it have to go this route? Why even change Tomoki's appearance? I think they wanted to have a white-haired hero because...
Probably.
White hair means power or whatever.
Yep.
And that's cool. So they wanted to give him a cool appearance. So this is just...
And he asked for it because he was a little bitch.
Yeah.
He hated his life, so he didn't want to look like himself in his previous life.
Sure. That's pretty much what it came down to. So that was just one thing I wanted to just bring into the forefront, is that the goddess has the power to change appearances, and she didn't make him...
She basically told Makuto to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Because of the way he looked, but she has the ability to change the way you look. Yes. Yeah, she sucks, okay? She sucks. I don't know what more we need to know than she just sucks.
Right. And another one of my notes, I wrote down that Makuto called himself a Kyodaka. I have no idea
what that means.
Yeah, right? In the final battle, he's like, when he's fighting Sophia Bolga, he's like, by the way, I'm a Kyodaka, and my bow's name is blah, blah, blah. But he called himself a Kyodaka, and this came out of nowhere. And this, I don't like when there's zero buildup to a title. And this happened literally back to back when he called himself a Kyodaka and gave him his bow a name, because this is way, way, way too late in the game to be giving titles to something.
Do you have a spelling for it?
In my notes, I wrote down Kyudaka. Kyudaka.
Kyudaka.
Kyudaka.
So there's Kudaka Island, which... Oh, there it is. Okay, so Kudaka Island is known as the Island of the Gods and is considered one of the holy places in Okinawa. So that's probably the reference.
Okay, so something non-relevant to any non-Japanese people.
Yes, but that kind of makes sense at least as far as the context of what's going on. It makes sense.
Sure,
because he is exercising all of the swords and all of the souls. So he's essentially portraying himself as a god.
Sure. So he just like randomly gave himself this title. I don't like the idea of just randomly giving yourself this title. Like you need to earn it. We need a little bit of build up with him and his bow. Like his bow should have been given a name in season 1, which you can't give the mangaka too much shit because like why would he think about that soon? Like why would I give everything a name?
Yep.
But at the same time, why would I give it a name so late? Like I just need a small build up. Don't just declare it at a very pivotal moment.
Yep.
Work your way into it just a little bit better. So I didn't like the way that they said that.
Okay. I missed it.
But okay.
The deaf guy missed that, so it's okay.
No, that's okay. And obviously you didn't read that for the manga because it's not even produced yet.
Yeah, it's not out there. So I have no idea.
For all we know, the light novel could do a better job explaining it.
Or say something different. Could just not have happened at all. I don't know.
I would like to imagine that there was a little bit more of a backstory to it.
I would agree. Any more things you want to get off your chest? There are very, very few. Like, let's be honest. There's only a few things that you can talk about this as far as...
Yeah, I mean, outside of...
there's few nitpicky things that we can bring up.
Trying to get back into, like, a little bit more of the essence of our conversations about, like, favorites and stuff like that.
Okay.
One of my favorite battles was the EO fight when...
Which one?
The second EO fight.
Yeah.
Like, for everyone to remember, EO is the demon with 4 arms.
Yep.
But more specifically is when... Well, EO's first fight is when he was fighting the 2 heroes and he totally obliterated everybody. But the second EO fight, when EO introduced like these 4-arm gauntlets with like each arm having an ability of each element.
Yep.
That idea alone, I am super excited about. And I am probably 100% going to steal for one of my future D&D campaign ideas.
Damn.
So you have a first-hand experience on what I might do in season 2, but
not looking forward to that one. Oh.
It's just be fun. But that whole entire fight was insanely fun. EO himself is goddamn amazing. He's insanely strong. He recovers insanely fast, and it just appears that this dude just cannot die no matter how much is thrown at him.
Yeah, he had a kamikaze attack on him, and he came back.
Right? This demon army, he's one of the generals?
He's one of the 4 generals, yep.
So, and we've only seen this one of these 4 generals that you're saying, yeah?
I want to say Rona is also a general.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, we see her working in the background. She seems more of like a...
And they talk about Sophia as like a... Is she a general? Is she not a general? I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not exactly sure either because she's important to some degree, but like... She's not on the battlefield like EO is. She
kind of just does her own thing. But I know
she's calling shots.
I think they call her like I don't remember the exact phrasing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But she's important to the demons, but not necessarily a demon general.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, my favorite fight scene was EO going all out with and without his rose power.
Yes.
It kind of also brings into focus of Makuto's hero suit. I thought I love that hero suit, but still, it was just a lot of fun watching all of that in general. I love the abilities that he had.
Yep.
And I'm glad he's still alive because that
rocket
just
punch.
That's where we got the rocket punch from. I'm glad he's still alive because that just means that obviously we're not done with him. So we get another fight out of him. And he's going to learn from this battle so that we can see him do better in the next battle.
I'll give you that one. Yep. Okay.
What about, I know we're throwing this kind of out of the way, but like, did you have a favorite fight scene, a favorite moment?
Yes. I guess the Mio fight versus the lizard thing.
Left?
Yes.
Yeah. Which was what I brought up in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
So, like I brought up in the beginning of this episode, was there information missing between, hey, introduction, pause point, I'm shooting Weston bullets at you, blah, 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 and then we saw the rest of the battle?
As you know, we never got that far.
Oh my God, you're right. God, fuck. Okay, maybe in the future we'll figure out what the manga/light novel has to say. But
yes.
Carry on about the...
I just like that one. I just thought it was really fun. I don't have a really good reason. I just like the fact that Mio's like, I'm going to take all this damage. I'm going to recover because I want to use essentially fake real bullets. No idea what that is about, but hopefully we find out. Honestly, all the fights were they were good. I don't necessarily say fantastic. This show isn't necessarily about the fights. It's about the story and world building.
Yeah, that's really fair to say.
So all the fights were fine. Nothing absolutely stands out besides our, White Power Ranger versus EO. Even the Sophia fight, it was fine. Kind of quick, to be completely honest with you. I feel like they could have dragged that out a lot further. We were kind of running out of episodes, so, kind of had to do what we had to do there.
Yeah, it was an interesting concept to skip all the middle and get to the conclusion of this fight.
Yep.
So I don't really blame him for that much.
Yep.
We have so much OP in this story as far as all of our core heroes go. Everybody is OP compared to everybody they face against. But I did like the Mio and Lept fight because...
First thing I thought of was Spirit Gun. I was like, oh, you're going to do that, aren't you? And then she's like, no, Smith & Wesson. I'm like, that's not what I was thinking, but okay.
More human. Yes, you're right. Yeah. If Yusuke were to use Smith & Wesson. And then, I like that she stayed true to her obsession, dedication to serving under Makuto and his memories. It's cool that she was dedicated to this very specific attack.
Yep.
And then just made it work. And then we all know about her masochism for taking on damage. I thought that was going to be another very next level thing. Oh, you damaged me and now I'm going to get stronger because I love it.
I just eat damage.
Right. That's not the way she took it, but she was still overpowered with it. Whatever. It worked out. I accepted it the way it was. And then we found out later that after she defeated him, she just started fucking eating everything about him. And
then she gained his abilities, and then he turned into a lizard, and you're like, so did Makuto get another underling? Is that what's going on here?
Basically, he got an underling under her underling, so he's still he's gonna follow orders under him in the near future.
Speaking of underlings, I found it so funny with the it starts with a G.
The Blinding Girls?
Yeah, the Blinding Girls.
Yeah, I got this in my notes.
Yeah, when the Gorgons show up and he's just like, I can't look at you. He's just being an awkward teenager.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then Emma's just sitting right next to him. It just reminds me of all those memes where, you have the attractive woman next to the husband and you just see the wife, and underneath it is she's waiting for him to not look, and he's, obviously looking away. It just reminded me of that so hard. And they were beyond that. I just found who each of the three people bring in for extra species is funny every time. Yeah,
those Gorgons were very funny because Makuto was definitely...
He started rambling,
talking about one night stands and I will be one of your... He didn't say this, but you're let me be one of your men to reproduce with, and I have the power... Whatever. We were all thinking it, whatever. We don't have to go down that route.
Yeah, and just when the leader of the Merchant Guild comes by and basically says thank you to Makuto, and it's you have free access To the brothel.
Oh, to the brothel. Oh, yeah. The piece of shit asshole that wants to take away and consume 90% of his business. And he's like, yeah, you have free access to all of these women.
Yeah.
And then he's completely flabbergasted.
He's like, So, which they kind of bring that up. I don't think Makuto has never been to the brothels, but they do bring up the brothels in the manga when they talk about the layout of the location. So it's just more information. But it's just really funny how hard his two underlings, Mio and Tomoe, flaunt themselves at him. And he's just like, no, it's just, I don't need anything. And then you've got all these other women that are around him, and he gets awkward around them when they're essentially unintentionally doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, because he has two of literally the strongest people, I mean, as far as we know, in the world, giving themselves to him. And then he has some like super lowlings at a brothel being like, hey, you have literally free access to us because of our boss. And like he's flustered.
Yeah. It's just one of those tropes. And I do find it funny because
it's a trope. Yeah.
I don't remember where I was going with that. Another thing I want to ask you, what did you think of this? Like, what did you think of season 2 of Tsukimichi? Did you like it better than season 1? About on par with season 1? What'd you take of season 1 being 12 episodes and season 2 being 25 episodes? Do you think that was like it had a good split?
Yeah. Tsukimichi season 1 had a very good introduction to this isekai kind of a world. Definitely brought us in. Very happy we watched it. Clearly why we were covering season 2. So,
Correct.
As far as season 2 goes, core 1 was slow.
Okay.
Which we've already kind of talked about.
Yep.
You need that, which I'm happy we are covering season 2 in its entirety, because had we covered this core 1, core 2, I would have rated them a lot differently. Core 1 would have been a lot lower than core 2 was. And that's because, I don't know, I'm a shonen bitch and I want that action.
Yep.
So core 2 was pure action. So
yes,
core 2 took over core 1 for all of that intensity. And maybe because of latency bias, because it ended so high, I'm really happy. The way that they did everything was fantastic.
Okay. Yep.
Everything blended together. The pacing was very well.
Yep.
Despite how much information we're missing from your manga.
Yes.
Despite what we don't even know from the light novel.
Yep.
Everything was at a great pace. We also mentioned that watching this a second and even a third time made us appreciate it even more.
Yes.
Made it that much better. So because of that, I'm going to rate this at a high level. I think this deserves an 8.5, close to a 9. Okay. This was a fantastic season.
Yep.
And before I elaborate even more, what are you thinking?
I very much enjoy core 1 because I liked all the background. One of my favorite scenes, which we'll get into, is in core 1. I like the character development we had with a lot of all of our characters. We got reintroduced to the Rembrandt daughters. We got Mio really kind of becoming more of having depth as far as herself as a character. You've got our heroes, which we finally get some background on. We actually learn more about Makuto himself because he's like, we kind of took him as being good with demi-humans as just, well, they're accepting of me. I'm going to be accepting of them. But we got it the same thing with the demons where he's like, don't do anything against me. And I really don't care what you do. Like, just go do that somewhere else. And I don't care. Just let me do whatever I want to do. So we got more depth with them, with the demons, and with Makuto. So that's what I really liked about season 2, core 1. And then there was so much that happened in core 2, which you're right, it helped. But I think having core 1 really set up core 2, because I feel like if it would have been inversed, the season would have not been as good. And we could have easily gone from essentially the fight with Sophia, we get some background on our heroes, sprinkle in Mana Matter, and then we have another fight with Sophia. Like, we could have easily had like those series of things happen and then gone into the rest of what happened in season 2, and it probably wouldn't have been as good.
Right.
Like, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I would probably give it an 8.5 as well. It's very good. If you're looking for something that's just action, you're not going to really appreciate this show. If you want something with a really good story and overlying layers as far as all of our characters are concerned, yeah, you definitely are going to really appreciate this show.
Definitely. I know we have shit ton of information to come in. We're not even halfway through the entire series.
Yep.
So without coming to a conclusion with your expectations, what are you expecting out of season 3?
So just talking about season 3 specifically, I feel like we're going to get some more information with Luto. I feel like we're going to get another school year as far as with the students. We're going to get more depth when it comes to the Rembrandt daughters. I also feel like we're going to get some sort of growth when it comes to the Kuzunoha Trading Company, because after this attack by the demons, they are now on good light. So everybody, when it comes to other merchants, who apparently a bunch of them have died, the church now trust him. So now he can be a little bit more open. He can actually talk to them now. So I feel like that's also going to be a huge driving factor as why they trust him. Be like, oh, we thought you were maybe a demon in disguise, and that's why you couldn't talk to humans. You're obviously not. So, and you fought against the demons, so obviously you're not going to be a demon. But I feel like a lot of things that are going to happen in season 2 are going to get pulled into season 3. I also have a feeling that we are going to... I think Makuto is going to go to where Hibiki is, and they're going to talk about their past and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's going to be a part of it.
Yep.
And maybe we're going to get the other hero, Tomoki. He's going to get involved somehow. And I feel like he's just going to be a jealous bitch again. I don't like him, just like the other spear hero from Rising of the Shield Hero.
Exactly. And for everyone to remember, Tomoki is not dead.
Correct.
Sophia left him alive. So,
correct.
Yeah. All three, like both heroes are still alive.
Yep. All of our other worlders are still alive. And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know exactly. Like, I don't have a strong feeling either way of what's going to happen in season 3. Do you?
No, I like literally everything that you're getting at.
Like, you think it's just going to be a lot of building of everything that we've already seen in season 2/season 1.
Yeah, I think this might take a little bit of a slime route where the next season, or at least the next core of the next season, much like this season 2 was a slow build. One thing I would like to make sure that everyone might bring into focus is that there was a moment that the church made notice that like everything just so happened to work in his favor.
Yep.
And I want that particular moment to be like, hey, did that happen because of X or Y? Like, I want them to be like, I can't trust you because everything worked out so perfectly.
Yeah, you were the only beneficiary of this.
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. So I want conflict to go on there. I want the church to continue to be a bitch for him. And then because of that, he's going to have ties with the demons. And then he'll work with the demons. And then that'll be beneficiary for a moment. And then those ties with his demons will also become a problem. And then he's going to be like, no, you guys fucking suck.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go do my own thing. And then he will ultimately go back to the humans and then try to unite everything from there. That's the only kind of difference. Not so much a difference, but that's the only kind of amendment that I could throw in there.
Okay.
So, yeah, everything you said plus that.
Okay. No, I like that. I think that's one thing that I like about this show is that you don't have an exact feeling about what's going to happen.
Right.
It's just kind of, all right, here's your story. Go. Yeah, that makes sense. One of my favorite moments from season 2 is from Core 1, and that's actually the part where Tomoki comes in and tries to persuade Tomoe and Lime to essentially become a part of his army. And Tomoe was essentially towards the end of the interaction was like, fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
And I just loved the menacing part when it came into that. I like the fact that she counteracted this ability that he had, also counteracted the ability of the dragon tamer girl. And she was like, oh, you want to be in my mind? Let me show you what it's really like to be against somebody that's stronger than you and not these little bitches that you've been interacting with. Like, I am a true greater dragon, not just some dragonoid creature that you're trying to tame. And then the queen just threatening her as well. And I liked that whole interaction because it goes back to proving just how strong she is, as in Tomoe, how strong she is. And I liked all of those things because this show as a whole, while it has some drama in it, like when those dark moments happen, I get super excited and I'm like, yes, this is really what drags me in or draws me into this series.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments was when we learned about Sophia and Lancer's abilities in that final battle with how everyone they've consumed turned into swords.
Yep.
Just the idea of everybody turning into weapons was
I thought that was interesting.
Awesome.
Yep.
So that whole entire battle scene was really cool. I feel like they kind of fast forwarded through a lot of stuff, but it worked the way it worked, and I was totally on board with everything. Yep. I wish that they kind of elaborated on a lot of more of that.
Yep.
But when Sophia took Lancer's ultimate sword at the end and was just super, at least tried to be really powerful about everything, about grabbing that secret sword and having a final battle that didn't even work out in her favor.
One thing I want to mention before I forget about it. So those dragons that she's talking about, that she's pulling the powers from, those are all greater dragons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's like, what, 7 of them, and she had like 4 of them
in
her
she had 4
arsenal?
Of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so she had over half, and Makuto overpowered all of them with no power. And like, I can't wait to see what's more powerful than that, than greater dragons. Or the other 3 greater dragons are...
well, we know of 2.
Tomoe and Ludo.
Yep. So who's the third one?
Exactly. So we have one more dragon to meet. So that's going to be exciting to see.
Yes.
Is that dragon going to be in between Tomoe and Ludo? Is that dragon going to be the second most powerful? We have yet to see. So that's going to be exciting to see. But yeah, the Sophia battle, that's one of my favorites. I love going into that alternate dimension and just having fun with bullshit. That's basically what it was. That the entire battle was just a bullshit scene and just having fun.
Yeah, kind of.
But yeah, as far as the next season, I agree with you completely. Then the only thing that I want to keep in mind is that Makuto has an original family. He has his parents that he wants to learn more about. He has sisters back in the real world.
Yep.
So are we going to go back and see his sisters? Are we going to learn more about his family? So that's what I want to keep in the forefront before the season gets too far and forgets about them. Because let's remember season 1 stuff.
Yeah. No, that's perfectly understandable. Did you have a favorite character?
I did enjoy Mio a lot.
Okay.
She was
a great character.
She had a much more humbling character in this season. I like that she was just being a nice character. I love her English voice actor. She was pleasantly attractive. I don't know, like
it suited her.
It suited her very well. Like it was very, very attractive, and I wanted to fucking devour food after every time she made food. Like I got hungry every single time. So I'm gonna pick Mio. Like great character, made me goddamn hungry. Oh, sorry. Also, I did put in my notes that I wanted Hibiki to be my favorite character. I'm just thinking about Mio. Maybe because I'm hungry right now, but Hibiki was also one of my favorite characters. She had a lot of character development. She started from like the lower tier kind of thing. She gathered her followers. She got better and better. She humbled herself and slowly got better. She never got super good, even when she got help from Mio, which I can't wait for Hibiki and Mio's relationship to like intertwine and understand that like Hibiki was that quote unquote weak hero that they were talking about. So that's obviously going to be in the near future. That connection needs to be made.
Yeah, I did find that funny when she's like, "Oh, it's just some weak hero or a weak person that I ran into." It's like, right. I get that you think everybody but Makuto is weak, but she's not weak.
Right. And it's just a fun comparison to make.
Yes.
Mio is funny. Hibiki has a lot of potential. I have a lot of faith in her. Between these two, awesome. But I kind of love Mio. What about you?
Okay. I do think that Mio is a fantastic character. I don't know. It's really hard for me to kind of go against anybody but Makuto, I guess. Like, he had so much character development in this entire series. And then just seeing everything he goes through in the manga, I guess. Like, I really enjoyed Makuto much more in season 2 than I did in season 1.
Oh, that's very fair to say.
Yeah, I guess I'll give this one to Makuto this time around. Because I kind of agree with you where Mio was... Like, she had the best character development. Like, her reaction to Makuto praising her cooking was just so sweet and innocent and just very heartfelt, and I really enjoyed it. When she gets super pissed off when that praying mantis, like, cut up her kimono and just loses her mind, I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a very funny scene.
So just all those moments that happened with Mio was fantastic. I like Tomoe's kind of interactions that she had in training Lime. She just didn't get as much spotlight in this time around than she did in season 1, which is kind of obvious because everything revolved around the demi-plane in season 1. So that's kind of why she doesn't get as much spotlight. But yeah, it's definitely going to be Makuto. I like his monomatter as well. Like him essentially creating this thing out of an idea he read from a book was really cool.
Yeah. We can't diverge too much from the main character all the time.
Yep.
He is definitely an awesome character in this series alone.
Yep. This is all we have as far as season 2 of Tsukimichi. If you haven't watched it, highly, highly, highly recommend it. It is fantastic. It's one of those don't judge a book by its cover shows, because Lance and I both did the same thing for season 1, and you gotta watch it. I do know I need to make up for ruining my streak of getting at least one right. Hopefully Lance didn't give me too hard of questions this time around, but let's do that Pokemon quiz.
All right, so for today, we're going to jump into Generation 2 questions.
Oh, no.
So slightly different. Question 1, what type is Sneasel?
I don't even remember what Sneasel is. And if you talk about it, you're going to give it away. So, we'll go Fairy.
Okay, let me rewind you a little bit. Fairy does not get included until much later series.
Okay.
So let me describe him a little bit. He's kind of like this mole-like looking thing. He's purpley. He's got like 2 little claws. He's got like these little pink feather things coming out of his head.
You know, he describes it. That's not helping me in the slightest. Is it Steel? I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a new...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Sneasel is a dark ice type.
I'm going to have to...
We're going to take a quick pause so that Matt can look at Sneasel.
Oh, that bullshit. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, he's a little bit different. Very different, because Gen 2 wanted to introduce the dark type, and that's where Sneasel came in.
Yes.
All right. Question 2. The last trainer you fight is red. What mountain is he in? Mount Gold, Mount Silver, or Mount Crystal?
Mount Silver.
You're correct there. Mount Silver.
I remember things.
Good job. All right. Third and final question. What level does Ladybug evolve into Lydian?
22.
22 is incorrect.
Oh, okay.
The correct answer is 18. Ladybug evolves at 18.
That was my first thought. I'm like, no, it's not that one. Nope.
Which seems kind of fucking crazy because Ladybug is introduced so early into Gen 2.
Yep.
And
like one of the first.
Yeah. And he's one of the most bullshit Pokemon. So, like, he's not on par with, like, Caterpie and whatever the bugs are evolving at, like, level 7 and 10 or whatever. At least let this fucker evolve at, like, 14.
12.
Or 12.
15.
Something early.
Yeah, no, 18.
But no, they thought early was level 18.
I mean, XP did... I feel like XP was easier in Gen 2 than it was in Gen 1.
Maybe. I feel like there was a lot... There was quite a few opportunities. But
yep.
Ladybug is a nothing Pokemon.
Yep.
And this bitch evolves at 18.
Correct. Well, I got one correct. So
you did. So you did go back to your original streak of 1 for 3.
Hey, if it's good enough for baseball, it's good enough for me.
There you go. Yeah, and baseball is pretty goddamn bad. So yeah, that's my quiz.
Well, hopefully our listeners are doing a better job than I am. Maybe they pay more attention to Pokemon than I do, I suppose. I feel like I pay close attention. Apparently I don't, but yeah. And that's all we have as far as this episode is concerned. Please make sure to check out the Anime Show on Facebook and Instagram. Check out all the awesome anime content they have on there. Also, please subscribe to us, drop a like, and leave a comment. Let us know, what did you think of Tsukimichi Season 2? Have a good one.
Later, guys.